Okay, so while the grains are mashing, we're about 20 minutes into it. What I've done is I've gone ahead and boiled that 1 cup of water for the yeast. Now it's boiling, and what I make sure is the lid and everything gets nice steam. But then I turn it off. And this water is going to sit around for like an hour. It's going to slowly get back to room temperature. If you really need to, you could have like some cold water, hit it on the outside in the sink. But really this is just going to sit there covered. So later when I put the yeast into it, it'll rehydrate it. And we won't do that until about 20 minutes left in the boil. Alright, so we have finished our 1 hour mashing for the most part at 152, give or take a few degrees, and using the flame to kind of kick it up when we need it to. But now we're going to do the straining out and removing of the actual beer in a bag portion and get ready for our boil. Strategy is basically to remove these clips and not have 1 beer in a bag but 2, so it weighs less and it's a little more maneuverable. And I'm just going to take off all the clips for the first bag, including the little ones that keep the bags connected to each other. So what I'm going to do is lift the bag out, let it drip out, and once it stops dripping, I'm going to throw it in here. The reason I do that is because I want to capture all of that liquid. I don't want to just give it up, So I'm going to...
Precious.
Yeah, because, people lose a lot of... Ooh, that's got some weight to it. You lose a lot of water to this grain, but as you'll see, it's like a big, huge tea bag of beer. So imagine how heavy this would be if I had it all in 1 bag. It would be kind of hard to lift 15 pounds of grain plus all that water. It's hard for me to do half, But it's good exercise, I guess. So that's still dripping. Notice the other bag I safely closed off the top so that it doesn't fall into the beer. Take a nice shoulder exercise. Do a few reps. Alright, let's do this. So now, it's still kind of hot, but at least it just fits into this, strainer. It's like a double boiler or whatever strainer. Again, another reason to cut it in half. If it was a full bag, it would be spilling over the sides. I just don't have the equipment to do this maybe the right way, but this really works well. So I just gently press on it a bunch. Try not to push down, because otherwise it's going to spill over the sides here, right? But also what you can do is start twisting this. And as you do it, you hear it starts dripping more. And there's a lot of beer to be recovered out of this thing. And that's a lot. Let's give it another nice squeeze. That one guy in the forum is really funny. Squeeze it like it owes you money. It gets to a point though where you want to just kind of, cut your losses, and once you got a lot out of it, sure you can get more, but at the same time, a lot of people I've read about online, they say, hey, you squeeze it too much, you might be pulling out some tannins or some other things out of the grain that a real mash would avoid extracting, so maybe over squeezing it is kind of a bad thing. So I'm pretty happy with the amount of liquid I got in there.
Yeah, it'll make it bitter.
So I'll just kind of put that on the side, and unfortunately the work's only halfway done, so you see I got to do it one more time. Alright, so the 2 bags have been pretty much beaten up for their money. Yeah. So as you pour it, you see it's kind of a significant amount. Okay. I mean,
It's nice.
it's an amount of beer you don't want to throw out, and there's definitely a lot of sugars in there, so we definitely want to get all that. And also now I have both burners on full. It's going to take a while. We're at, look at that, at 152 degrees, kind of what we mashed at, so it shows that we were at the temperature we wanted for the most part. It's going to take a little while to get to boiling, but we'll let that go for a bit. So now we're going to let that go. I'm going to wash my hands, going to put this in the garbage somewhere, and we're going to get our hops bagged in a few minutes, so we'll be ready for that. Me and my Uncle Mike are wearing our brewing outfits,
Okay.
and we're going to be putting our chinook leaf hops into our little muslin bags, because I don't like the hop residue to be all in there. So this is the first bag we opened before. I usually put it in the bowl first, and then I take my muslin bag, and Mike, I don't know, you can do this however you want.
You do whatever you want, I don't know.
I find this to work well because all the hops get in there.
Oh, nice.
And then you kind of slowly pull the bowl out, and it kind of fills out the bag.
Yep.
Otherwise, I think it's hard to get the bag wide enough, but I don't know. So we each got to do two. So we're going to do 1 ounce hop additions at different timings. So I want to get all of our hop addition bags ready ahead of time.
Smells so nice.
Smell good. Cool. All right, so we have our wort getting up to boiling temperature. It's not there yet. It's been sitting for like 10-15 minutes. It's almost 200 already, actually. But what I want to do to speed it up a bit is use the bowl valve once more. So now when we actually have wort, we could still, drain some of this out into our other pots and then get it up to boiling speed a little faster. The first batch I did, it took about an hour to get it up to boiling temperature, which was a little longer than I wanted, so that's why I use this method here to speed it up. Get that going. Notice the one thing I'm not doing is covering the pots, because from what I've read, it's not good to capture those vapors back into the beer. So put a little bit in this one too. If it gets to boiling, I usually just dump it right back in and then fill it again. But we're kind of close to boiling temperature now. I think I'll only have to do this once. But yeah, so that's hot stuff. You want to be really careful. You don't want an oh shit moment. So we'll put those there, lower that flame for a minute. Sometimes the pilot lights just can't hang, so I lower the one burner until they're both lit. Alright, so these will get hotter. This is actually just at 200, so I think we're going to be good to go pretty soon. And yeah, then we'll do our hop additions.
It is Hudson's Brew, right?
This is Hudson's Brew.
Hudson's Brew.
He's supervising. He's like, what are you doing over there, buddy? Don't worry, buddy. Alright, so now we've kind of divided our beer into a few of these different kettles now. And they're starting to get to boiling in the small ones. So I'm going to add that back into the main batch. And for this, I'm definitely going to wear my oven mitts. And I'm just going to carefully pour all that wort right back in. And help us get to our boiling temperature a little faster. See, even that one's starting to boil, which is nice. Let's turn the flame off on that. And carefully get all this beer all consolidated again. And what we're going to have is our full pre-boil volume. I think we're about 6 1/4 gallons, maybe 6 1/2 if we're lucky, of beer that's just about hitting 212. So we're good to go, and we're going to be adding hops in a bit. Alright, so now we got a rolling boil, which is great, and that means it's time to do our first hop addition. We're right about the volume of water we want for about an hour of boil, so we're just going to do our 16-minute hop additions right now. So basically we're going to go with 2 ounces of our hops, and we're just going to teabag them in there, and I get him a little helpful dip. It's like dunking them.
Now, what kind of hops is this?
We got chinook hops. So yeah, look at that. See, it's getting nice and soupy. So we're doing 2 ounces at 60 minutes. I'm going to dip yours in there. And then we're going to do another ounce at 15 minutes. And another ounce at 5 minutes left. And that will be our 4 ounces of hops, saving 1 ounce for dry hopping later into the fermentation. Right now we're at the 20-minute boil mark, 20 minutes left. And what I've been doing is, I'm a little excessive, I don't know if this is even needed, but I sanitize my yeast stirring spoon, my yeast bag cutting scissors, and even the yeast packet. Probably a little excessive. But anyway, so I'm just going to cut the yeast bag open, and now we're going to pitch it into that cup of water that we had boiled earlier. That's now room temperature. I'm just going to pitch it all in there into the water. That's all the yeast. Billions and billions of cells, right?
Gross.
And now we want to just gently stir it all in there so the yeast can kind of get hydrated. Now this is going to sit for about 20 minutes covered. It's kind of like having that carbohydrate dinner before a long run for these yeast. They're going to get hydrated, so when they get in that beer, they have a little kick to them. So this is stirred, and I'm just going to cover that up. Yeah, that's going to sit for 20 minutes, or maybe 25 minutes, depending on how long it takes to cool that beer. Shazam. Now we're about 15 minutes left in the boil, and we're going to sanitize our immersion chiller by putting it in the beer so it could just be sanitized. And the hops that are in there, we want to just kind of make sure they're in the middle so this thing can plop all the way down. Now the hops are free to do their thing. And also, Mike's going to now do our 15-minute hop addition. So then there you go. The stage is yours, sir. We'll just teabag that guy in there.
This is our last 5-minute hops?
This is our 15-minute hop, and we're actually
okay.
adding one at 5 minutes left also. So once we have the immersion chiller sanitizing in the beer, we're going to get our hose ready. I've already put my little adapter I got at Home Depot for like $1.50. And now I have my 2 lengths of 6-inch garden hose with an adapter on one end. I'm just going to really just attach this to the sink. Now, one side goes in there like that, and the other end, notice I have both lengths of hose attached to each other. So the length that comes out from the hose goes onto one side of the immersion chiller here. There we go. Once you get the threading going, you just kind of hand tight it, and then if you want to use one of your wrenches to do it really tight, you don't want any water leaking here. Once you turn this thing on, or else you're going to put water in your beer. So you definitely want to have this thing on there really well. This is great. So this is getting sanitized. The water is going to end up coming in here and coming right out here, right back into the sink. So that's why I put all these little ties on here. So yeah, we're good to go for getting the chiller all ready. So we got about 12 minutes left until we actually use it. And so while we have the immersion chiller getting sanitized, we're almost ready for our 5-minute hop additions. We're going to quickly sanitize everything. We already have our Star San bucket. The first thing I like to sanitize is the brew bucket, or the fermentation bucket. So I usually get the sanitizing liquid in there, shake it up a whole bunch, clean the sides of it, get the whole bucket really sanitized.